are back for our noon at Noonish. And I really am grateful to uh, the commenter who told us to name it Noon at Noonish because I think it's a great name. Don't you?
Yeah, it's very applicable in our case because stuff happens and we don't come on. But
You-
we're going to try to do this at noon all the time.
yeah. So, first of all, we watched the President Trump speech last night at 9 o'clock, and I have to say it was one of the best speeches he's ever given. And I appreciated all the information that was given. And I encourage you to watch it if you didn't catch it. There are so many places you can, but one of the places that I recommend is RSBN TV because they carry President Trump's rallies, etc. And it was just a wonderful speech. The fact that military personnel are going to receive $1,776.
Well, there was some rejoicing across the country, I'll tell you.
I'm sure that's not a small sum, but we appreciate, we thank you all for your service wherever you may be, whatever your position is. And we say Merry Christmas along with $1,776.
I grew up in that life, and $1,700 right at Christmas time.
Yeah, sure. I mean, and a surprise. I don't think anybody knew it was coming. Only President Trump. Only President Trump also knows something. I cannot tell you what it is, but something big is coming and it's coming soon. I don't know. I just get this because I'll tell you why. One of the things that we all have to do, remember to do, is pay attention to what President Trump tweets and truths and etc. He never minces words and he always has a purpose in what he's saying. He always is giving us a clue about what's really going on. And one of the things that I've noticed that is not very subtle is the fact that he changed those portraits, or he put the portraits of, I know that it was Obama. I think it was Obama and Biden. Was it just the two of them? And he had things written under their portraits that were like, this is the worst president ever. And
Why?
And
Essentially,
why?
I just scanned it real briefly and went, "Oh yeah, I'm going to put that up," and then I didn't do it last night, but I'll do it later today.
Yeah, it's telling. He would not have done that if something wasn't about to happen. It's just like when he called the Somalians, called them out, and everybody was saying, why is he calling them out? Why is he saying they're garbage or they're not good or whatever? Well, it's because then 3 days later, the fraud broke. Everybody found out about the fraud. He already knew about that, and he knew it was getting ready to break. So pay attention to what he says. It's always valuable information.
And now the Somalian fraud with however they were working it, has also now been discovered in
Maine.
Maine.
Yeah. Yes, in Maine.
It'll be everywhere.
Oh, sure. It'll be everywhere because that was the whole intent of it. Now, in other news, and this is good. This is really good news. The House of Representatives voted Wednesday evening to pass the Protect Children's Innocence Act, which will make it a crime for sex change surgery and hormonal treatments to be provided to minors. This bill was authored by Marjorie Taylor Greene, but it makes it criminal to knowingly perform or attempt to perform genital or bodily mutilation on another person who is a minor, with penalties up to 10 years in prison. And it's not just the doctors, it is also parents who facilitate, consent to, or transport the minor child to receive the sex change surgeries could also be charged. The purpose of this bill is obviously to protect children, but it also codifies President Trump's executive order restricting sex change. This is unbelievable that this has to be. It's unbelievable that in the United States of America, there has to be a law saying you can't mutilate children. It just I can't believe it, but I am so rejoicing in this. It's just such a wonderful thing that they have done this. That this law now, it was passed in the House, and it darn well had better pass in the Senate. And I'm just putting all the Republican senators on notice. Here's a call to action for all the people watching this. Call your senators. I don't care if they're Democrats or Republicans. Call them and urge them to vote yes on this bill to save children. These are horrible stories about children.
As you've got it written up here, it's a satanic procedure.
It is exactly that. It's just like abortion brought us here. There's a death cult in the Democrat Party, and some Republicans, they participate in what is literally a death cult. They have no respect for life. They have no respect, and children. They're attacking children. Of course, it's always the children. It just always is. And I'm happy to see this bill was passed, and I applaud those who voted for it. I say boo Anya to those who didn't. I think only 2 Democrats voted for it. I don't want to say that if that's not accurate, but it does seem to me it wasn't. There a couple of Democrats did actually vote for it, and probably a couple of Republicans that didn't. I can only imagine. So there's that. That is a wonderful thing. And as nutty as Marjorie Taylor Greene is, she did manage to do this. So that's a good thing. Now, and something that's very close to my heart, because this had been troubling me, and most people may not have even known about it. I know some people who are chaplains. And one of the things that they did with chaplains was they just sort of pushed them off to the side. They also told them they were not allowed to pray in Jesus' name. They were not allowed to, say this or say that. They really they didn't put priority on the chaplaincy. Well, our Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth, is announced that the military will be rebuilding its chaplain corps with a renewed focus on faith, which is ridiculous. Of course, the chaplains should be focused on faith, but they weren't. And so the chaplain corps was begun by George Washington in 1775. It was supposed to be a spiritual and moral backbone of the nation's forces. If anybody needs spiritual uplifting, it is our military. And how demoralizing to not be able to participate or not be able to have somebody pray for you because of this stupid wokeness. So he's undoing that. And I say, God bless Pete Hegseth. Were you going to say something? No, you don't have anything? Okay. I just think it's wonderful. It's a blessing. And I think the military people will be blessed. Look at this. They are getting $1,776 for Christmas, and now they're going to be able to pray.
What a deal. What a country.
What could be better?
Merry Christmas.
Yeah. Merry Christmas, and God bless you. As I said, I know some chaplains, and this has really been difficult for them. They've been threatened with all kinds of stuff. But what is there a comment you were pointing to? Oh.
No, I was just trying to look at.
Yeah. So anyway, there's that. Now, this was sort of surprising to me. I think the liberal newspapers know that something is afoot. Speaking of something afoot,
yeah,
Benny Johnson was interviewing General Mike Flynn yesterday, who was talking about the grand jury that has been impaneled in Florida. And he was talking about that what he thinks is going to happen is that people are going to talk. They're going to give up other people. And his theory is that the first person to open his mouth is going to be Clapper, to point the finger at somebody else, to get himself out.
Like his buddy.
Yeah, right. He's going to point the finger at Brennan, or I don't know, but General Flynn knows these people, so he's just saying, based on personality, etc., he thinks Clapper is going to be the bird that sings. I don't know. Time will tell. Um, so anyway, going back to the local liberal newspapers, I just find this interesting.
Yeah,
First,
this was in the New York Times, for God's sakes.
Well, first, the Washington Post went after Mayor Brandon Johnson's budget plan, saying, and this is their words, not mine, Chicago has lost its mind. They are going after him for his budget. I didn't get into the details of the budget, but that seems pretty strong. And then right after that, the New York Times is going after none other than Nancy Pelosi, their darling.
Okay, before you go on to Pelosi,
yeah,
this is amazing to me. The Washington Post is actually doing something right. What did they? Did someone in that place have a brain transplant, or what's going on?
Well, I don't know, but this is the second time that New York Times has said that. Remember, the New York Times called out the Washington Post for their lies.
Right. Well,
so I don't know.
Something good is actually going on in the top newspapers in the country. We'll wait and see before we make that pronouncement.
I don't know, but President Trump just is suing BBC, and he's getting ready to sue some other entity.
President Trump is also a New Yorker.
Yeah, but he's suing several of the outlets for fake news or whatever, and I'm wondering if they're a little scared. They don't want to. They're losing readership. They're losing.
We'll see. Something's going on with the two biggest leftist newspapers in the country.
Who owns the New York Times? Washington Post is Jeff Bezos, right? Who owns it?
I don't know what the ownership of the NYT is.
I know, the old gray lady. In any case, the New York Times has said that Nancy Pelosi's legacy is going to have to be marked with an asterisk because of her record on stock trades. The paper said this issue leaves an asterisk on Pelosi's legacy. It notes that she has become an incredibly wealthy woman through stock trades and once again raises questions about how she did it. Maybe they're mad that she wouldn't give them her insider trading information so they could also make information. She's been accused of using inside information to benefit herself, and she's walking away from her public service career as a very wealthy woman. So, they're raising questions about how she managed to do that. And I don't know how she managed to do that.
In her position, insider trading is an easy thing to do and for sure a win.
Right. And she is, of course, retiring in 2027 after 40 years in Congress. Good golly. 40 years. That's a lifetime for some of these people. As the most powerful woman in American political history. Anyway, there's Nancy. Now, what also, too, I wanted to comment on this. We know that the House also passed the undoing of Obamacare, and it's a little bit complicated and difficult to understand. But I remember when Obamacare was passed. Do you?
Vaguely, yeah.
Nancy Pelosi said, we have to pass it to see what's in it.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Like, she didn't want anybody to read it.
So the worst statement in the history of the United States Congress.
That's right. And then, and looking back on this now, it all kind of comes together because you figure out what they've been doing. But President Trump, in his first term, said he was going to undo Obamacare. And Paul Ryan, who was Speaker of the House at the time, convinced him to wait until the next term, and they would have the votes. They didn't have the votes. They needed to get the votes. And President Trump had never been a politician, so he just trusted Rat Ryan. And yet what they did was Rat Ryan and he knew this was going to happen, and I think they did this on purpose for the good of their cabal. In the midterm elections went Democrat. And Rat Ryan handed the gavel over to Nancy Pelosi, which was the plan all along. And basically, this was saving Obamacare. And so the Democrats were never going to pass Obamacare. And then, of course, President Trump got impeached how many times? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
We'll try again. We'll get him yet.
And indicted how many times?
He didn't run out of money yet.
Yeah, and all this other stuff going on. But I remember that. And then the infamous John McCain's last act in the Senate to fly in to D.C.
From his hospital bed, flies in so he can get in front and go,
no,
right.
Well, no. And that was the no that killed ending it. It is supposed to give us more control over our money. Remember when Obama would say, if you like your doctor, you can keep your doctor?
Yeah, total lie.
Totally a lie. Totally. All of a sudden you had this list. This network, and you couldn't. Yeah. So finally, I think now, again, the House passed it. The Senate has to pass it. And who knows? I don't know if that probably won't happen before Christmas, but I guess it's possible. I
don't think anything's possible from here on until the first of the year.
Well, at least they passed one hurdle, and at least this transgender bill passed the first hurdle. Now, if the Senate doesn't pass it, it's bad on them, and so they know they have to do it.
This very important thing that you kind of uncovered was that Trump has something big up his sleeve. You can just feel the energy.
Well,
I mean, indicting Obama, indicting the Clintons, those would all be good things to do.
Well, and nobody would have known this. Emerald Robinson, and no, she's not the one that uncovered it. Speaking of Gateway Pundit, Joe Hoff of the Gateway Pundit was given an award by the New York Young Republicans for his journalism. They have done a wonderful job in uncovering and bringing forth all of this information. And one of their writers, and Joe Hoff, was singing her praises, and I wish I could remember her name, but she's the one who uncovered the video that you played on your channel. If you haven't had a chance to watch it, it's Clapper and Brennan, but it also has Rob Reiner. And that's why I say pay attention to President Trump. When President Trump gave that thing about Rob Reiner, one of the things in there, he said he paid for and he helped with the Russia collusion delusion. Well, I didn't know that. Well, that's where she read that, and she found that video, and it was actually on Rob Reiner's website, whatever his website was. But what happened was he got together with Brennan and Clapper, and then he went out and became very alarmed. Maybe he was really alarmed. Maybe he was faking being alarmed. He's an actor. I don't know.
Well, he put up a lot of money into it.
He put a lot of money and effort into it and pushed this lie. And that video made me so mad. Clapper and Brennan sitting there talking about what the Russians were doing, which was exactly what Clapper and Brennan were doing themselves.
Oh, say it again.
They were reading their own playbook. They were telling us exactly how they do this stuff by pretending it was the Russians doing this. And I'm sitting there listening to them going,
these traitors this is just their modus operandi. Try to blame the exact same thing that they're doing on their opponent. They do it to Trump all the time.
But the question that it raised in my mind, one of the questions was when I said, okay, they're telling us exactly what they're doing. But and even Rob Reiner asked them this question. Well, okay, he didn't say it this bluntly. I would have. So are you guys so incompetent that you didn't know the Russians were doing this? I mean, really, you were so stupid. Either you are completely incompetent. And one of the answers, it made me feel like he was saying, well, the Russians have better stuff than we do. They have a better capability of doing this than we do. what are you saying? You know, what, you're either incompetent or you're criminal. Well, we know the answer, but it was just so blatant.
Well, we've got to be better criminals.
Well, he kind of asked a question, and they go, well, they did some of this stuff before. We just didn't realize they were going to do it to this extent. No, because they didn't do it to that extent. You did. So that's why you didn't realize that the Russians were going to do it to that extent, because it was you the whole time. So I don't know. Are there any good comments?
No, everybody is transfixed by your your analysis, Beth.
Oh, they're probably bored. Hey, that's not fair.
Not true. I'm just kidding.
Did you want to talk about the brothel, or were you going to bring that up?
About what?
The brothel, or are you going to?
No,
do that.
No. I'll talk about that on
okay.
story on my. I haven't. There's something too confusing to that story for me to put out. I might be wrong in anything I say.
It's okay. Just no. Okay, so I think that's all we have for today.
Okay.
God bless President Trump, and please pray for him to have wisdom and discernment. This is very important, that he follow the Holy Spirit, that he has wisdom in what he's doing. Pray for the country. God bless the United States of America, and God bless all of you.
Merry Christmas.
And Merry Christmas. Happy New Year.
Oh, comment.
Oh.
Remember the movie The Russians Are Coming? That was one of the brilliant movies of all times. If you all have not seen that, The Russians Are Coming.
And one of the best scenes in that movie is that the line, the guy on the horse. It was actually, I think, a mule.
The drunken guy.
The drunken guy. That was so funny. That is a great movie. I've watched that many times.
We should watch it again just to see how it relates to today's situation, because I'd love to say something, but I'm not quite sure.
Yeah. Well, we don't know what we don't know. God bless. Thank you for that reminder. I love that movie.
Bye.
Bye. I think